Pierce woke up in an asylum installed in the cellars of the Riverside Institute. He met Dr. Colin, a female friend of Bradley, who helped him to escape wander through the corridors of his place, where Dr. Fuller reigned supreme. Pierce was able to walk to a man called Francis Sanders before dying in full view of the detective. He assumed Sarah Hawkins of being the cause of his torments. Pierce finally left the accursed building, accompanied by Bradley and Colden. The companions in misfortune decide to use the Hawkins mansion as a hideout. Es esto un pinche... Un pulpo, cabrón, el pinche pulpo Paul. Me va a decir mi futuro.
Who goes there?
No seas mamón que nos...
A nightmare again. I need a drink.
Seas mamón. Seas mamón. Ok, es Coden lo que supuestamente me ayudó a escapar del asilo. Necesito ver qué hay aquí. Porque...
No. I want to know what Bradley and Dr. Colden have to say about all this.
Están volviendo loco, cabrón. Malditos perros, los voy a matar. Uno por uno. Empezando con el detective. ¡Cállate!
How do you feel?
Mal. Mal.
Did I sleep long?
The day is only starting. It's fine.
¿Tú qué tienes que decirme?
How's our fugitive? Dr. Fuller hasn't reported your disappearance to the force, but that'll come soon.
Bradley?
Who else would it be?
Mr. Pierce, are you all right?
There are things I can't explain.
Tell us. What happened?
Might be onto the lead. Sarah Hawkins was the object of the cult.
I met a Francis Sanders. Do you know him?
Of course. He's a patient. Or was. I haven't seen him since Dr. Fuller had him transferred to the basement.
He knew Sarah Hawkins. And that's what killed him.
What? How did he die?
I'm not sure I can explain it.
Tell me how Mr. Sanders died.
Okay.
Sanders started screaming and convulsing.
Ok, Sanders es el que estaba en la silla que le mocharon el pie y el cuello.
Then his body got all crooked.
What in God's name? And you were alone with him?
He accused Sarah Hawkins of being the culprit.
Sarah Hawkins? Have I missed something here? This makes no sense.
You really think she's involved? How could she have murdered Mr. Sanders?
Francis Sanders mentioned Mrs. Hawkins just before dying. It's no coincidence.
You know, Francis Sanders was a well-known art collector. I guess you can still pay a visit to his wife.
An art collector, you say? That's probably how they met.
If you plan on having dinner at the Sanders household, please spare the widow the tale of her late husband's suffering.
I don't agree. She deserves the truth.
But that truth may be biased. We don't know the bottom of it.
Let's stay prudent. Better to confront the truth.
You're right.
Okay.
Without a plausible explanation for what I saw, let's not jump to conclusions.
That seems wise indeed.
This
Very
will
well.
affect your destiny. Puta
I'll go to see
madre!
Francis's widow.
Ni modo, chingue su madre.
End up in the hospital this time.
I'll do my best.
Talk to Sanders' widow. Ok. Tiene que haber un libro por aquí. Tiene que haber un libro. No hay un pinche libro. Tiene que haber un pinche libro aquí de medicina, no mames. Si yo leo todos los pinches días. Bueno, leía. Pinche libro de medicina, no mames. Más uno. Vámonos a la verga de ahí. Talk to Sanders. Sanders' widow. Pierce, Colden, and Bradley decided to team up to solve the Sarah Hawkins case. They have a new trail to follow. Francis Sanders, an art collector and friend of the painter, who died right in front of Pierce. The detective goes to his house in order to speak to his widow about the shambler that the unfortunate man mentioned before he died.
What can I do for you, sir?
Mrs. Sanders, I'm a private detective. We must talk about your husband and his ties to Sarah Hawkins. Can I come in?
You may. However, before we go any further, please know that my husband died yesterday.
That is precisely what brings me here.
Hay problemas, cabrón.
Look who's here. You know each other.
We met briefly. Time enough to iron out a few matters. The main thing is that we understood one another. The brave detective has a talent for sticking his nose into my business.
I bump into her every time I'm investigating someone's death.
It's a small island, Detective. My island.
You're investigating Francis' death. Why? Who hired you?
I spoke to Francis before he died. His story suggests a link to a case I'm working on.
Well, since this business has got nothing to do with me, I'll be in your husband's office, Irene. We'll carry on later.
Very well, Miss Baker. This way, Mr. Pierce. And do make yourself comfortable. It would seem that you have much to tell me. May I inquire as to when you had the opportunity to talk to my husband?
Yesterday, I met him at the hospital. He spoke to me about Sarah Hawkins.
Oh, of course he spoke to you about her. Please forgive my tone. The fact is that I have not been allowed to see him since he was interned. You, on the other hand, a perfect stranger, were able to see him and even talk with him the day he died.
He died screaming right before my eyes. I was no longer there when it happened. You're taking it quite well. Su madre. Okay.
I expected to find you more grief-stricken than this by the death of your husband.
I do not like the tone of your allusion,
Hey,
sir.
tranquila.
I had long months to weep every tear in my body, and to accept, if not my fate, at least that of my husband. And so I'm sorry to disappoint you if you're expecting more hysteria and grieving widow in my voice. Rest assured, however, my anger is real. I need to understand. How could this happen? In a reputed institute? And right before your eyes? Did you not do anything to help him?
I share your grief, but I had nothing to do with it. The true culprit is Fuller. Okay, chingue su madre.
It's terrible what happened to your husband, but I had nothing to do with it. I was injured, and I came across him in the hospital quite by chance.
Injured? Well, I'm delighted to see you in such fine fettle, Detect. Not everybody enjoyed such a prompt recovery.
I suppose Fuller does do miracles now and again.
Luck is obviously very kind to you. Oh, I'm tired, Mr. Pierce. I would be grateful if you could tell me what you expect of me, and then leave.
How do you know Sarah Hawkins? Did the speak to you?
Did your husband talk to you about Sarah Hawkins' visitor? A shambler, to use his precise terms.
Well, you can imagine that's all he talked about. It's exhibited at the center of the gallery. No better place for the painting that endowed him with the privilege of such a shameful and miserable end to his life.
Hold on.
Yeah.
The Shambler is a painting by Sarah Hawkins.
Who else to paint such horrors? Take a look for yourself, if you feel so inclined.
It is my only lead at this stage. I suppose I have nothing to lose.
Then you have paid no heed. For my part, I refuse to set foot in that gallery again.
Thank you, Mrs. Sanders. I won't be long.
Okay. So Shamblers es una pintura de Sarah Hawkins. Sanders, quien el Shambler lo mató,
The day the
acusó
Shambler came into the Sanders' lives.
a Sarah Hawkins de brujería o alguna mamá así.
Francis Sanders and Sarah Hawkins were close. Friends, even? Xander's accession register. He wrote beside the Shambler. Finally. What did Sarah Hawkins fear so much that she didn't want to sell the painting? A house of artists.
The House of Artists. The House of
He finally
Artists.
won. Was Sanders aware of his imminent doom? She first refused to sell the painting. How did that make her feel? Was she jealous of Sarah Hawkins?
Okay. Okay. Ay, pendejo.
The Shambler. I need to see it.
Examine the Shambler. ¿Dónde está? Oh, libro. Bravery on the Medicine. Tome 1. Oh, sí, sí, sí. Hay que subir. Hay que subir estos skills. Psychology. Y... No, quitamos esto. Boom, ¿dónde está? ¿Cómo se quita? Remove. The ritual, macabre discovery, the death of Francis Sanders. Okay. Examine the Shambler. ¿Dónde está el Shambler? Shambler. ¿Aquí? No. ¿Un libro? No. Una lupa. Un libro.
Let's see what this cylinder has to say once it's inserted in a phonograph.
Ni una de estas pinches puertas abre. Cat. Ya hace cat aquí.
I could use one of those.
Más tinta.
Strange.
Dear Francis, I beg you
For
to give
months,
a hope of
Sarah
everyone reading
Hawkins
this accursed
refused to
painting.
part with her painting.
If our friendship has
Finally
any
give it
meaning for
away
you,
nothing.
please spare me the weight of guilt. I cannot be the architect of your fall. I beg you, my dear friend, forget the Shambler. Your friend, Sarah Hawkins.
Another volume of the Reverend's wife's diary.
Dame esta pinche llave. ¿Tú qué, güey? ¿Tú qué, güey? Would you read the book? Ah, chingue su madre. It's a kind of encyclopedia of monsters and unknown creatures. I'm begging to believe that they exist. ¿Qué dice? Malleus Bestiarium. Ooh.
That's twice you've stepped on my toes, Detective.
I've got a lot of bad habits.
Some can be more fatal than others. What have you come looking for in the...
Another painting by Sarah. I'm not here to create problems for you. It's none of your business. I've got to verify paintings for a buyer.
I'm not here to cause trouble.
Worry me. Don't overestimate yourself. If the last beating wasn't enough for you, I can always give it another go.
Cálmate,
But as long as you keep out of my way...
And you? What are you doing here?
And you? What brings you to the Sanders home?
I'm here on business. Irene asked me to liquidate all these paintings. She doesn't intend to hang around here for long.
Why you?
Believe it or not, there aren't many collectors on Darkwater. It needs someone with a network and a means of transport to the mainland. A choice that comes down to Fitzroy and me.
Fitzroy, ese pinche Fitzroy, cabrón. Dissertation on an anatomical question. Ok, vamos a entrar. Ok, lugares pequeños, no. ¿Dónde está el pinche Shambler?
These artifacts date from pre-Columbian times. The man transformed an entire wing of his manor into an art gallery.
Ok, ya tenemos aceite en nuestra pinche la... ¿Es el Shambler? No. No. Siento que está aquí.
The public entrance to the gallery.
Pero no.
Why was he so interested in old weapons?
¿Dónde chingados? Oh, esto está... Ay, no mames, ya estábamos ahí. The Shambler. Vamos a ver qué tiene que decirme. ¿Qué es eso?
Is this dagger part of Sanders' collection?
Far from
or was
possessing
he
talents of Sarah Hawkins, Sanders threw a dagger with a tortured form down to the smallest detail. The guard carries a strange esoteric symbol, a recurring feature of his correspondence with Sarah. Chinga tu madre, ya sabía bien. Ya sabía bien. No mames. Tienes que correr, cabrón.
What the hell was that?
Ok. ¿Qué tengo que hacer? ¿Qué hay que hacer? Uy, mierda. Mierda, mierda, mierda. ¿Por dónde voy? ¡Ah! ¡Ah! ¡Mierda! ¡Mierda! No, 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 no. Salte de aquí. Fuck. No, hay que salir, hay que salir, hay que salir, hay que salir, hay que salir. ¡Oh, hijo de puta! Mierda. A chingar a su madre, vámonos a la verga.
I can't even
Ah,
touch it.
¿qué?
No way out. No choice. I must get rid of it. Down. Maybe I can use this dagger.
Ah. Acá. ¿Tampoco?
Damn it. This dagger didn't work.
Tengo que encontrar la daga que estaba en el papel, creo. Y para eso... No sé cuál... Ok. Ok, hay que buscar... Boom, ¿dónde está? Aquí, clue. Drawing of dagger. Far. Ok, esa no es, 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 esa no es. Parece, esa parece que sí es. ¡Ah! ¡No! ¡Ah! Te voy a matar, pendejo, te voy a matar. Este ya lo vimos, este ya lo vimos.
What the hell was that?
Ok. No mames que me viste, vete a la verga. Esa no es. Esa tampoco. Esa parece. Pero es esta.
This dagger looks different.
No. ¡Ah! Tampoco es, tampoco es, tampoco es, tampoco es. ¿Es esta? ¿Es esta? ¿Cuál vergas es? Esa no es. A ver. ¿Es esta? Chingada madre, fuck it. Creo que sí es esta, creo que sí es esta. Chingar a tu madre. Para un moco, no mames. Y... No.
You sure you won't be needing that hand? You're losing it, Detective. At this rate, you're right. The bottle will get you before I do.
You didn't see anything.
I saw you within an inch of putting a dagger through your forearm.
I was attacked by a creature. No, I just drank a bit too much. Aquí.
It's nothing. I think I just drank too much.
That goes without saying. If you can't tell the difference between reality and fiction, then you're in real trouble.
You didn't hear anything? You knew about the monster? You must have noticed the state of my arm.
I ran, screamed, broke a pane of glass. You were in the next room and you didn't hear a thing.
If I hadn't heard a thing, I'd still be in the other room. The door was blocked. I like to look after my goods.
You mean me?
Don't flatter yourself, sweetheart. I'm talking about the contents of this gallery. And by the way, where do you think you're going with that dagger?
It saved my life. It's an extraordinary dagger.
You should talk to Algernon Drake. He's an antique dealer here on Darkwater. He'll tell you from what I saw in the ledgers. It was him who sold it to Sanders.
I really should talk to this Drake and you give me this information.
It's not your style to give me free information like that.
Take it as payment for being my canary. A simple trade-off. Now go see your antique seller. I've still got things to settle with Irene.
Cat. Cat es algo sospechosa. Aunque creo que solo intenta ayudar. Irene no se ve estable. Chapter 7. The Shambler turned out to be much more than an artwork painted by Sarah Hawkins. As a huge creature came out of the painting to attack Pierce, after a hard fight, the detective managed to send it back into the painting. He later discovered that the dagger he used to repel the creature had been sold to Sanders by a man named Algernon Drake, owner of the nameless bookstore. Pierce decides to pay the library a visit. No objetivo. Inspecciona la
Where's the
librería.
bookseller?
Libro de medicina.
Freud's The Interpretation of Dreams. It's the work that laid the foundations of psychoanalysis at the beginning of this century.
This practical work, written by the Sigmund Freud for psychologists, described the techniques of the analytical interpretation of dreams. The analysis must follow several rules, especially that of free association. A principle announced by Freud at the end of the 19th century. It treats dreams as a way of revealing buried desires. I cannot believe that this theory is applicable to my nightmares. Exactamente lo que yo estaba pensando. Eso no aplica en esta.
Another volume of the Reverend's wife's diary.
Eso no lo voy a leer. Siento que aquí tiene que haber un libro de medicina. A la verga. Aquí, Handbook on Anatomy and Dissection, Book 2. Breviary of Medicine, Tome 3. Okay. Ya, ¿qué chingados es? ¿Por qué no puedo inspeccionar ahí? ¿Qué pedo? Handbook on Anatomy and Dissection, Book 1.
What A strange amulet.
Amulet in the shape of a
I have
dog.
a feeling I better not touch it.
Ya lo tocamos, no mames. Pero... ¿por qué no puedo? Ok, ahorita volvemos ahí.
What happened here?
Vamos a ver aquí.
Let's start over. Where did they break in from?
Por aquí.
Blood. Seems like amateur work.
Amateur work. Y luego creo que... empezaron ahí.
Someone tall left this footprint. A man, probably. No sign of struggle. If the burglar smashed this jar, it wasn't intentionally. Was he hurt then?
Aquí. Crowbar.
What sort of thief leaves his tools? What happened that made the burglar flee? What killed all these animals?
Ocultismo.
What the... Charles Hawkins?
¿Qué? ¿Fue Charles Hawkins?
What's happening to Hawkins?
¿Sara?
What sort of power did Sarah Hawkins' painting possess?
Pinche librote, no mames.
Sarah Hawkins helped hide something in this safe.
¿Pero por qué? No estoy viendo algo. Ahí no puedo entrar. Ah, acá.
Drake put in a great deal of effort to hide whatever is in here. Everything is linked to the Sarah Hawkins case. Drake left instructions on how to find the combination of his safe.
A page seems to be hidden. It is possible to read. If somebody finds these memoirs, there will be no doubt that I am in serious trouble. My last and only hope is that my body and bones are still in this plane of reality, in order that they be recovered and burned. The funeral urn must be given to my dear mother, if she is still of this world. The following message is of capital importance. Whoever reads these lines and demonstrates acuity as sharp as mine can hope to gain access to my most precious possession. It lies within my safe, and the clues to the combination are to be found in 3 cylinders, each hidden where life and study combine in the Greek world. Each cylinder is numbered, even if, as the celebrated author says, order is the pleasure of reason, but disorder is the delight of the imagination. Indeed, despite my preference for organized chaos, I must admit that reason usually prevails in the end. If by chance a person, or should I say a genius, was to match my intellect and find the combination of the safe, I would ask that they deliver its content into the safekeeping of my friend and colleague, Professor Armitage of Miskatonic University. The content of this safe is not only a vast digest of knowledge, but also a weapon that is far too dangerous for it to fall into the wrong hands. I hope that you will be able to appreciate the danger that this represents, and that you will act accordingly. In any event, I will neither be there to guide you nor to suffer from your actions. From you actions. Ok. 3 cilindros. Cada uno numerado.
Is everyone on this island taking sleeping pills? What link did he find between Charles Hawkins and an old amulet?
3 cilindros. 3 cilindros. Libros.
Arkham editions. Never heard of him.
A book of spelling supposedly written by the legendary King Solomon. It contains various rituals of invocation and rituals of curse. Re-edition by Claudia D. Waiters based on L.W. D. Lawrence original. This volume is part of the Arkham Anthology, a luxurious collection of treatises and works on esotericism and the supernatural. Okay.
How many volumes are there in this collection?
Volumen 2,
Another volume by Arkham editions.
7,
Arkham editions.
9,
How many volumes are there in this collection?
4,
Another volume by Arkham
8,
editions. Arkham editions.
6,
How many volumes are
Dos,
there? Another volume
dos,
by Arkham editions. Arkham editions.
3,
How many volumes are there in this collection?
2,
Another volume
uno.
by Arkham editions.
okay.
Cylinders that Drake tried to hide. I should perhaps listen to them.
¿Dónde está el pinche xilófono? Aquí. Sí, ahí está.
A kind of chalice.
Goblet. Seems to be made of gold and decorated with real precious stones. Do the rubies and sapphires make up a specific motive?
A kind of chalice.
History of Darkwater, Volume 4. Okay. Drake cylinder number 1.
And these red drops, like precious stones, lie fixed, set in divine gold. To be the guardian of the Grail does not protect me from its attractions, Henry. And I do confess it. I am willing to pay to know its secrets.
Okay.
I finally understood that we were only pieces on the chessboard of the gods. Let those of us who are still standing protect our White Queen from their dark soldiers. I see our number dwindling, and my will strengthens as my apprehension grows. We shall refuse to be the playthings of destiny.
Okay, eso no lo entendí.
Dear friend, I thank you again for the anthology of the works of Arkham editions that you sent me. Volume 9, Azathoth and Other Horrors, seemed particularly relevant to my research. I never tire of browsing through them.
Okay. So necesitamos esto.
The chalice of knowledge.
Vamos a oír la número 1 de nuevo.
And these red drops, like precious stones, lie fixed, set in divine gold. To be the guardian of the Grail does not protect me from its attractions, Henry. And I do confess it. I am willing to pay to know its secrets.
Okay, red drops.
The chalice of knowledge.
I finally understood that we were only pieces on the chessboard of the gods.
Okay.
Let those of us who are still standing protect our White Queen from their dark soldiers. I see our number dwindling, and my will strengthens as my apprehension grows. We shall refuse to be the playthings of destiny.
Una. A ver. Calmao.
I
Finally
finally
understood.
understood that we were only pieces on the chessboard of the gods. Let those of us who are still standing protect our White Queen from their dark soldiers. I see our number dwindling, and my will strengthens as my apprehension grows. We shall refuse to be the playthings of destiny.
The Queen has little protection. The Queen has little protection. So these are the volumes that Drake was talking about in his message.
A collection of poems by Edward Pickman Derby, also known as the Nightmare Lyrics. This collection of poems was sensationally received when first published in 1908. Derby was only 18 years old. This volume is part of the Arkham Anthology, a luxurious collection of treatises and works on esotericism and the supernatural, Esototh, and the other horrors. Okay. A ver. 5. Ahí está. La pinche Biblia. Mierda. Me digas que yo... Ok. Estoy volviendo loco, al parecer. Chapter 8. In the nameless bookstore, Pierce traced the trail of an attempted burglary. He discovered that Charles Hawkins was behind the attempt. Pierce opened the bookseller's safe to find what the latter and Sarah Hawkins had hidden there. A book covered in human skin, light inside. Irresistibly attracted to detective, when he opened it, his mind was projected into another body.
Dr. Colden, this man's condition is deteriorating.
What says Dr. Fuller? It's his patient, after all.
He's busy with Captain Fitzroy. He specifically asked us not to bother him when that's the case.
Oh, of course. I'll see what I can do. Mr. Blake, can you hear me? I'm Dr. Colden. We'll take care of you.
There's nothing we can do. I tried talking to him. He's catatonic.
Examine the patient. Has he been drugged?
Did you inject him with a tranquilizer?
No, Doctor. Not me, not anyone.
Again? But there was enough for the whole island.
More and more people are suffering from insomnia.
Of course.
Any idea what this man might be?
Very well.
Vamos a ver.
I'll examine him. Severe malnutrition. Swollen abdomen with traces of petechia. Doesn't seem like an edema. Slight protuberances seem to indicate the presence of a foreign body.
No comía.
His skin shows abnormal loss of color and seems dried out. He's totally dehydrated. His fingertips and toes seem to feature a slight ring under the skin.
No bebía
30-year-old
líquidos.
subject. Severe hypothermia. Erythematous papules around the eyes and eardrums. Necrosed palpebral tissue. Lord, this smell.
So, Doctor, an opinion?
I'm not sure I have the necessary knowledge to treat this man.
Don't say that. You're our most worthy doctor after Dr. Fuller.
Some of his symptoms are beyond my comprehension.
What did you find?
He has something in his belly. The state of his limbs is worrisome. He's severely dehydrated.
Did you examine his abdomen?
He hasn't eaten in days.
No. Can't you recognize an edema?
It's not like he could be pregnant.
Whatever it is, this man has something inside him that shouldn't be there.
Dr. Fuller said not to worry, that the edema would go away by itself.
You know, I'm not sure Dr. Fuller is telling the truth. I see signs of hypodermoclysis, but he's still dehydrated. When was his last IV?
He's constantly under perfusion. I've even gone beyond the recommended dose to no avail. And you won't believe me, but when we bathed him earlier...
He seemed to feel better?
Yes. Like he needs an aquarium, not a perfusion. But that doesn't explain his condition.
El pulpo, cabrón, es el Leviatán.
In spite of the muscle contractions, his arms seem limp.
Yes. They can't have decalcified, not at this rate.
And yet, if there is a bone in this arm, it's softer than that of a newborn baby. What about his cranium?
It's soft at the touch. It does seem like the skull of a baby.
Look at these sticky
¿Qué hace
rings
Fitzroy?
growing at his fingertips.
Y el maldito
What can be
doctor
happening?
hablando ahí atrás.
I'm sure you'll find an explanation. You have to.
I almost don't believe it myself, but these symptoms are not those usually associated with the human species.
What do you mean? Don't tell me you believe in extraterrestrials.
No. This poor man is from our world, all right. But his body is undergoing unnatural mutations, and this transformation is killing him. His body simply can't cope.
Where could he have gotten such an infection?
I pray that it's not here.
Dr. Colden, may I know what you're doing to my patient?
What I'm doing? How about what you've done to him?
Let us calm down, my dear Marie. I've done to him what I do to all my patients.
Your imagination is without limit.
There, there. What have you seen to put you in such a state?
These symptoms are worrisome. You're turning him into...
His
Okay.
limbs? His body temperature? I don't know what experiments you've undertaken, but this is going too far.
Oh, I sense some excitement beneath your indignation. Could it be you wish to join me in my scientific endeavors?
You are a brilliant physician, Dr. Fuller, but this man has the attributes of some kind of animal.
Fascinating. An animal, you say? Could you be more precise?
This amuses you.
Your reaction does. I know your thirst for knowledge, Doctor. It's your innocent worries for this man that have you overreacting.
For this man, and the others whose medical files you've been hiding.
I have to protect my discovery.
I will not let you do this.
You disappoint me, Marie, but I still have hope you'll one day share my point of view. In the meantime, take care of your own patients and try not to forget who you're dealing with.
Maldito Dr. Fuller.
Was that a threat? What did he mean?
¿Tú qué piensas?
It was a warning. Dr. Fuller is this institution's founder, and my word is of no weight against his.
It's scandalous. Can't we do anything? Is there no evidence of his crimes?
Don't you get involved in this. You've done enough already.
But doctor, this man is dying.
There's nothing we can do about it. He's in the hands of Dr. Fuller. Do you wish to end up like Elizabeth?
No. You're right.
Let me do my
Elizabeth.
own
¿Quién
investigation.
es Elizabeth?
It's time I found those missing files.
And where would you find those? In his office. What if you get caught?
I'd rather not think about that. I'm counting on your discretion.
Of course, Doctor. You can count on me. I'll keep Mum.
Objetivo: entrar en la oficina del Dr. Fuller.
Chronic insomnia. Like half the
Una
island.
pinche nalgadilla. Vámonos. Ok. Farmacia.
No, you're pulling my leg. I'm not joking. I saw the schedule. She's alone in the bathroom again.
And she still says nothing to that old witch, Donovan? Oh, listen to the way you talk, you
Baños.
lying girl. And the
Administración.
answer is no. You can imagine that she doesn't dare say a thing. That silly goose lets herself It's a real show.
Thomas Fuller.
Let's hope I can go through the administration office. The operating room is never accessible after an operation.
Sorry, but nobody can take anything until I finish the inventory.
No mames. ¿Cómo entramos ahí? Surgical ward. Podemos entrar aquí y ahí hay una puerta. Aunque también podemos entrar por acá.
Wait a minute. Where do you think you're going?
Hey, cálmate. ¿Quién eres tú?
Dr. Colden.
Mrs. Donovan.
Nobody goes into Dr. Fuller's office, but rest assured, I'll tell him you came by.
That won't be necessary. Thank you.
I will tell him, nonetheless. I have little time for you, Doctor. Wait a minute. Where do you think you're going?
Puñetas, déjame
Dr.
entrar.
Colden.
Si le vas a decir, déjame
Mrs.
entrar.
Donovan.
Nobody goes into... But rest assured,
That won't be necessary.
I will tell him, nonetheless.
¿Qué? ¿Qué me miras? Ok, ¿cómo la podemos distraer?
Everybody says it. She's a witch, an old hag.
Elizabeth? You all right? Why is...
Because, as always, and the water was once again shut off. I had to bother Mrs. Donovan again, giving her a new excuse to belittle me.
Do you really need Mrs. Donovan to open a valve? Why not ask the janitor?
I can't make these decisions without her approval. Imagine if there were a leak. Anyhow, the boiler room is locked half the time, so every time the water gets shut off, I have to go and endure her reproach until she's settled the problem.
I see. Courage, Elizabeth.
Thank you, Doctor.
Ok.
It's temperamental, if I understand correctly. The door to the boiler room is locked. I have to get the key if I wish to get rid of Donovan.
¿Quién me puede dar la llave? ¿Tú? Aquí.
This man, Edward Pierce.
Dr. Colden, we need you at once in Dormitory B.
Would you know where the key to the boiler room is?
Betty didn't put it back in its place. Well, she took it to lock the door.
I'll ask her. Thank you.
But if I may say so, Doctor, I think that the problems of our patients are more urgent than the plumbing.
I'll tend to it. Don't worry.
Ok. ¿Y a quién es Betty?
Please.
Ah, mierda, no. No quiero hablar con ella. Betty, ¿dónde está Betty? ¿Tú eres Betty? No, vamos primero para la recepción B aquí, Block B. Ok,
The key to
encontramos
the
la
boiler
llave.
room. All I have to do is shut off the water and hope Donovan takes the bait.
Mierda. ¿Qué?
Doctor, please. My chest.
Tranquilízate. Vas a
His
estar bien.
infusion of a semi-physiological solution doesn't seem to work. He's undergoing a ventricular fibrillation. Nurse? Deborah, come and help me, please. His potassium level is too high. Replace it with 2% glucose solution with insulin, calcium, and sodium bicarbonate.
I'll tend to it right away.
Thank you. He's in your hands.
Soy una mal pinche doctor bien chingón, cabrón, neta. Ok, entramos aquí. Apagamos. Apagamos. Aquí.
I can't shut this with my bare hands. I need a tool.
De todas las pinches herramientas que están tiradas aquí, no, ni una de esas. Ninguna de esas pinches herramientas. Ah, ok. Oh, aquí. Es todo, chingona. Es todo. Vámonos. Cerramos
I feel
puerta.
guilty about Elizabeth, but I need the diversion. It's temperamental, if I understand.
Dr. Colden, might there be a problem with the water?
I was about to mention it. It seems it's been cut off yet again.
I can't take this, Marie.
It's not your fault if we have defective plumbing.
And yet, I'm the one who gets punished. But courage, Elizabeth. Here we go.
Chiculera.
And hold your tongue this time.
No mames. La van a correr. Ya se fue.
At last. The missing files must be hidden here.
¿Pero dónde? ¿Dónde? Porque tiene el Sheila aquí.
Something is wrong with these masts. It's some sort of puzzle. I've unlocked something. Patient file.
Sarah Hawkins interview.
I was right.
Oh, hay que salir de aquí. Creo que hay que salir aquí.
Conclusions. Session number 17. Patient? Sarah Hawkins.
Ok, Dr. Fuller era el doctor de Sarah Hawkins.
The patient appears to have finally accepted the illusory nature of what she calls.
Why is Ethan on medication?
It goes without saying that these peculiar
Una zapatilla.
that comes with her exceptional gifts.
This finger belonged to a woman.
Un dedo, no mames.
Why keep it here?
Creo que Fuller mató a Sarah.
Why does Dr. Fuller write psychological reports about Sarah Hawkins?
Creo que Fuller mató a Sarah.
Presumed that her blood was the key. But I found nothing to explain Mrs. Hawkins' abilities.
The poor souls downstairs are not Fuller's only subjects.
Then James came, irate that
Fitzroy.
James was keeping secrets from him. I presume that he will try to break into the basement sooner or later.
Basement. ¿Por qué querría ir al basement?
I am prepared.
Hawkins, Fitzroy, and Fuller. What is the connection between these three?
Hawkins
That I had the presence
Fitzroy
of mind to set them all
y
in the
Fuller.
basement. When all the fuss about the Hawkins incident finally comes to an end, I will dispose of her belongings. In the meantime, they must remain hidden in plain sight.
Silly idiot.
Of course.
A partly
Sarah
burned shoe.
Hawkins is the connection.
It seems like it belonged to Sarah Hawkins. Está ya bien.